This is the Porsche 911 Dakar. It is purpose-built for high-speed endurance off-road racing, and the Dakar Rally is one of the most grueling in the whole world. And this is one of just 2,500 models produced. And when it first came out, I was not convinced that I would ever get to see one in person, and let alone drive one, because they're so rare. So the fact that we have one with us today is making me feel like my dreams are coming true. And I hate the outdoors. I've only been camping once, and it was my first and last time. So if there was ever a thing that could get me excited about venturing out into the great outdoors, this is it.
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that.
So this 911 pays homage to the 953 that ran in the 1984 Paris-Dakar Rally. So like I said, this is one of the most grueling endurance rallies in the whole world. And up until that point, Porsche had never participated. And so someone had the crazy idea of, hey, let's run a 911 in the Dakar. It's a sports car. And obviously a lot of people didn't think that they would get very far, because every other competitor was running all-terrain SUVs that were purpose-built for off-roading. And so people thought entering a sports car was crazy. But the people at Porsche are geniuses, and they actually had a really good thing going with the 911. And so it had a whole bunch of different benefits. The first benefit is that the 911 was a lot lighter than those SUVs that were running in the Dakar. And when you're racing, weight is the enemy of performance. So that was the first benefit. The second benefit they had was that the engine was way back there. And when you're off-roading, when you have more weight on the rear axle, that pays huge dividends in how much traction you can get. So that was another benefit. Then Porsche also had like legendary, very experienced rally drivers piloting this 911 through that race. And what ended up happening? They won. So they proved everyone wrong, won the very first time they attempted to do the Dakar. And look at where we are today. And you have to remember, this is at a time before Porsche had SUVs. This was a time before they even had all-wheel drive. All they had was rear drive 911s. And it was a game-changing moment for them, because look at where the brand is today. I think that story is super inspiring, because proving people wrong is one of life's greatest pleasures. So the fact that Porsche made this 911 to commemorate that game-changing win from the 1984 Paris-Dakar Rally is so special. You know, that race was 20 days long and 11,000 kilometers. So the fact that this 911 could not only finish that race, but win, man, that's something to be so proud of. And you can sense that pride in this current 911 Dakar. It is just so special. You know, Porsche is a very serious automaker. They're known for making world-class performance cars, record-setting vehicles. Their attention to detail is obsessive, and they're not really known for being fun or having much of a sense of humor. But this 911 is so fun. You can tell that the people who were working on this were just having the time of their lives, because it is so fun and it has so much personality. And a regular 911 is great, but this just takes it to another level of a whole different type of joyous happiness that you don't normally get from a 911. And I gotta commend Porsche on delivering on that joy. So back then in 1984, the Rothmans cigarette company sponsored that race-winning 911. On today's model, you obviously can't have a cigarette company on there. So instead of Rothmans, Porsche put Rough Rose, but they still kept the same retro-inspired font and all of the classic iconic livery from back in the day. And the end result is that this is such a beautifully nostalgic car. You know, it reminds me of a toy, like an RC car. It shouldn't exist. The proportions are hilarious. And that is why I absolutely love this. So this 911 Dakar is powered by a 3-liter twin-turbo flat-6 engine. It has 475 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. So obviously the suspension has been lifted. In normal 911s, they have a front nose lift suspension, which will help you get over like speed bumps and stuff like that. This one also has it on the rear axle, and all in, that means that this 911 Dakar has almost as much ground clearance as a Porsche Cayenne. Another thing I love about this 911 is the fact that it has that roof rack on top and the LED light bar. I think it's so cool. It really adds to the personality of this. Also makes it a lot more practical. Of course, there are tow hooks in the front and back in case you get stuck and need to be recovered. And of course it has all-terrain tires, all-wheel drive is standard, and the transmission is an 8-speed automatic. In general, it's still extremely capable. You know, the regular 911 that this is based on is so precise and so capable. And this one loses a little bit of precision compared to that one, but it's honestly, the bar was already so high that this is still super capable, whether you're on a regular road or asphalt, or if you're on a back road. So a couple days ago, I took this 911 Dakar through some twisty gravel roads, and in that setting, this sports car came alive. It had so much personality, and it displays a lot of playfulness that I don't think a regular 911 does. And it was so fun to drive through those twisty back roads, and it was so easy just to like kick out the back end and drift yourself through corners. It has a couple driving modes too that the regular 911 doesn't have. It has a rally mode, which allows you to be more drifty, gives you a little bit more leeway before the safety systems kind of rein you back in. And then there's also an off-road mode, which is for maximizing traction, you know, when you're climbing up sand dunes or whatever. But in general, this is a pleasure to drive off-road and on the pavement. And what was so impressive to me is how it was so good at both. You know, usually when cars are good off-road, they're not good on the pavement, and vice versa. This one is so good at doing both and remains so balanced and so composed, and also so fun. And I can't stress enough how much fun and how much personality this 911 Dakar just exudes. Yeah, and during that little off-road excursion, I got the 911 Dakar so dirty. And usually before I do a video review like this, I'll wash the car, but I didn't want to wash it for this one because that's what this car was meant to do. It was meant to get dirty, and so I displayed all of this dirt like a badge of honor. The reactions that I have gotten from passers-by and strangers when I'm out driving this have been so much fun. You know, I've had people at highway speed stick their phones out the window trying to get videos, thumbs ups everywhere, strangers stopping dead in their tracks. I think that even for someone who doesn't know anything about motorsports or cars, it's obvious that this Porsche 911 Dakar is so special, and just to see it driving by is kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so the fact that I get to drive one makes me feel insanely lucky. And thank you to Porsche Canada for even making this available to me. I feel blessed, and I'm just so happy to be driving this. So by now you know that Porsche won that legendary 1984 Paris-Dakar Rally. And 5 years after that victory, they came out with their first ever production Porsche 911 that had all-wheel drive, that, you know, just anybody could buy. And I think that is so special. That's a really important legacy that this car has. And Porsche as a brand has just accomplished so much. Like, they used to make tractors, and look at us now driving this, which is just the epitome of design, joy, and engineering, all bundled up into one joyous package. I love this car, and I don't want to talk about it for too much longer because I can already feel I'm getting emotional just talking about it. So thank you for joining me on this journey. I'm so happy that I got to share this with you all. To recap, I love this car, it's awesome, and I want one. I don't like the fact that I'm too poor to actually afford one. The Porsche 911 Dakar is one of the most special cars that I have ever driven, and I really hope to see them driven the way they were intended to. You know, if you're one of the lucky people who have one of these, but you have it safely tucked away in a garage, you are doing yourself a huge disservice, because this car is such a joy to drive and it is such a magical experience. And I know that it's going to be a future collectible one day, but it was built to get dirty, and that's exactly what you should be doing with it.